And we've been working in a whole range of different communities in England for the last 13 years. And in a way, part of the conversation is also my own experience of being very, very, very urban. Sort of where I grew up in Liverpool, I lived in London, Sheffield, quite big cities, industrial cities. And in the last 5 years, I've moved to Devon, which is in the south of England. It's the countryside, and I was terrified of moving there when I moved there. I love nature, I love being in that, but to live there was quite scary. Of like, how would that be? What would that be like? And as an arts practitioner, really for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's been trying to work out how does that affect my practice, what's different about it, and it's a bit like learning another language. But also what I've realised is that there's a huge amount of commonality also that I've found in some of the challenges between the kind of urban-rural divide, we might say, and actually some of the divides that there are within an urban context. So I think that for me, some of my learning around this urban-rural is actually, in all of those places, when you drill down, there's a microcosm of this idea of divided and connected. And what are some of the factors that divide and connect us? And a lot of my interest is in how the role of artists, catalysts, enablers, facilitators can create a space for exchange and meeting across that difference. So I found myself working in very urban contexts, like in Sheffield or in Liverpool, that actually often at the edges of those urban places there are neighbourhoods, which to me I realise is very, very like a very rural village where I am now in Devon, where there are some people when I've worked in Sheffield who are like 20 minutes away from a humming big urban capital, who have never ever been there, and who really are living a village life, but within a very urban context. And often they're at the edge, so actually looking one way, they would be looking towards a much more rural context historically, when the urban has grown, and then looking another way, they're looking into this urban world, and they're on the edge. And a lot of what interests me is this edge, and in the rural context at the moment, what I realise is that this thing between the edge and the centre, so I live now in a town of 5,000, about 4,000 people, and across the bridge it's another edge. You know, across the bridge is the community of people who've lived there all their lives, a lot of them. And on the other side of the edge is where the blow-ins are, the people who've arrived there, who are there. And sometimes on the edge they might say, oh, the blow-ins have just gone too far, it's too alternative. And for me, that also feels like there's a microcosm of what's happening in a larger city context, in a smaller context. It's like you drill down and actually some of the issues are around power, and they're around voice, and they're around knowledge, and often the intellectual knowledge being more valued than the kind of inherited knowledge. And there's different layers of rank though, because if you've been somewhere all your life, then sometimes that gives you more rank than if you're a blow-in. Like sometimes I feel a bit ashamed that I'm a blow-in, you know, rather than that. And in a rural context, also I found that it's harder to hide. In an urban context, you can hide. So for me, there's also this sense of how do we address these divides. And I work quite a lot. Some projects we run which are very artist-led projects, where we can be quite grassroots about that and follow our own instinct of how we might want to invite people to join in or to have a conversation with each other. And other projects we do are more commissioned, where a service provider or a policymaker wants to consult people or brings together, but they don't necessarily have the tools to do that. And a lot of the conversation that I have sometimes is that there's a lot of focus on doing, like how can we get people together to do, to make a decision, to take action, and that's given a lot of value because it results in action. Whereas actually what I found in 10, 13 years of doing this work is that actually just being together across difference, to be, is a very powerful place that needs to be given weight for an artist. I just want people to come together, for us together, to be, because in that place I can reflect on myself, I can connect with others, I can then take the step to seeing on a wider community level, and then to also see the part of this wider natural world that I'm part of. So a lot of the work we do is working with this circle of myself, other, community, and then in this global environmental context that we're in, how do we make the changes we need to make so that we can all flourish but live within the Earth's limits. And for me, that's about this balance between me and we, and doing and being, and the edge and the centre. So tomorrow I'm doing a workshop where I'm going to show some more methodologies and tools, but I just thought quickly I'd give you that bit of context of just a bit of our